up to? And
Yeah, I mean, I've just been building the podcast with Nikki and Ryan, the Nikki Ryan experiment, and then Nikki and I are breaking off and doing our own private podcast now. I have my clothing merch out, which I am sponsored by the Big Weird Mom on TikTok. So
oh,
she's
good.
yeah, she's taking care of all my merch, all my fulfillments, everything. So yeah, it's been awesome. It's been great. I wrote an article last night on they're trying to recall our mayor here in Tucson, Mayor Regina Romero. And so I went through and looked at their website and basically just picked it apart last night. And I was up till 5 a.m. just writing. And yeah, it turned out pretty good, I think. So if you are, go to ryanshed.net and you can go read that.
So is this a mayor that you'd had a problem with anyway?
No,
Coincidence?
oh no. I love the mayor. She's outstanding. And I was driving down the road and I saw that they had this tent out on the side of the road and with a sign saying recall Regina. So the whole thing is called Recall Regina 2020. And they're trying to recall her because they spent like $1,700 on a Black Lives Matters sign that they hung on the side of City Hall, and or I think it was like 3,000 for that, and then they paid $1,700 in donated paint to paint the Black Lives Matter, on the street, just like they did in DC.
Hmm.
So they all the artists donated their time for free. All the city did was donate the 1,900 or whatever it is for the paint. And so they're using that as the basis to recall the mayor. And they're spending $60,000 to try to get to the 25,000 signature mark that they need, because they're upset that the city spent $5,000
And
on
which group is behind this initiative?
the organization that they've got it named as is recallregina2020.net. So you can go check their dumb site out.
So in other words, you wrote about their website,
Yep,
not
I went and picked everything that they said was wrong. I went and took their source and I went and read it, and then I picked out. I was like, "This is what it says right in your source," and almost every one of them in the article, it said that the mayor was doing, everything that she could. She had contacted everybody she was supposed to. She had gone through the city manager like she was supposed to. Like it, their own sources didn't back up the argument. So I just wrote a whole article about it because the guy backing it, his name's Joseph Morgan, and he ran for Congress. I had a thing with him, and you know me, Abe. So we butted heads, and so he was already kind of on my list, and he ended up marching a bunch of people to the mayor's house, and that set me off. And they protested the mask thing, and he headed this whole recall thing, and I drove home the point that we really need to stop equating, you know, people of color's lives to an officer's occupation.
Yeah, I mean the whole argument doesn't work.
Not for me.
Actually, any way you look at it, I
Not
don't
for
think it
me.
works in terms of a buzzword of defund the police. I think,
And that's what they
restructure,
use.
there's other words.
Yeah. She doesn't
So
want
we're
to
kind of,
defund the police. She supports the police, but there's a difference between supporting the police and holding them accountable.
of
We
course.
just like we should hold our politicians accountable, we should hold our police force accountable.
I mean,
And
just the word accountability is not only about people. It should be about every day. It should be about family
absolutely.
members. You know what I mean? It shouldn't be
Hold
restricted
each
to
other
any one
accountable.
day.
And we should
100.
hold each other. I tell people this, I expect more from my friends. I don't expect less from them. I'm not going to let you slide on things just because you're my friend. No, that. If you're hanging around me, I expect you to be, as good as we're trying to make everybody else.
We're so used to having so much news that people just want to do stuff just to make news, like talking about Joe and you know what I mean? It's like, okay, like the guy is lovely. You know what I mean? Like they're making fun of, like now the Fox News is saying that Joe and Jill are just like a fake relationship. Did you hear this one?
Yeah.
I mean, really, you're just pulling at
How
straws.
long they been together?
43 years.
Okay. And look, I don't, I'm not saying you can't fake it. Clearly, there are actors that can fake, affection and things like that. But just like with the Obamas, I think that there's a genuine affection there that that you just can't fake, and they're not always perfect. You can tell that they have their freaking off days. They're not always hanging on each other lovey-dovey.
Michelle used to smack her down every once in
Hell
a while.
yeah. And Jill's the same way. Dr. Jill is not going to take any crap,
Yes, definitely. But just how dare they say anything? Look at the relationship that was in the White House for 4 years.
Well,
The non-relationship hooker meets John moves into the gold toileted house. I mean, it's just endless.
as I started running for city council and learning more and falling in love more with Arizona, I've really discovered that they need me at the state level.
Good.
We have a lot of older, I shouldn't say it that way. We have a lot of experienced individuals that have been at the state level for a long time. And it's time for some fresh blood. It's time. It, the some of the bills that are coming down the pipeline, they just need people in there that are ready to fight, and I'm ready to fight.
Good.
So that's I'm going to be going for a state level seat probably in the House, in if not in 2022, 2024. A couple years ago, I was the one saying all lives matter. Like, and there was a point where my wife and I both were not happy about the guys kneeling during the national anthem because we're military and that stuff's pounded in your head, right? But once Jen and I sat down and like kind of started looking at it and listening to Colin Kaepernick and what he was trying to say, and then hearing the Navy SEAL who said he was actually the one that told, like, when you start looking at the whole story, you go, okay, I was wrong. My knee-jerk reaction was wrong. And it's just it's just really disheartening all around and this is the profound statement I've been saying a lot. My wife told me she was stationed overseas for 11 years, 4 different countries, and she was treated better in every single one of those countries than she's treated here in the country that she served for 22 years. And I think you don't really need to add anything onto that. If Joe Biden doesn't have the House and the Senate at the same time, he's going to run into the same problem that Obama did for a majority of
Definitely.
exactly. He couldn't get things passed. He couldn't get even some things on the floor. And then he was accused of circumventing Congress because, he had to get creative with how he got his agenda done. So, we need, again, like we talked about earlier in the show, we need to give the Biden administration a little bit of grace, and we need to give them a solid 4 years with both chambers to try to correct this. And at the end of those 4 years, if we are no better off, or the country's still failing, then then we can talk about whatever. But we need to give them 4 years of being able to get the agenda done.
We, I think, rose to the challenge, and we had some impact on the November election. I will say that. We had some impact on the Georgia election.
Oh yeah.
Confident about that. I mean, we put it over the edge. I don't know, but in terms of messaging wise, we had definite moments.
And I tell people this, if one of your videos got one person to vote blue, if that was all that it got, you helped. We did something. Like, using our platform. I don't have a ton of extra money right now because it's COVID. We're hurting too, so we have to manage. But I can use my platform, right? Like, I can come on shows of like yours and I can say something about somebody. Like, I can support my mayor and say this isn't cool.
Right.
So it's using our platform for good, and realizing when we get those, and people don't see our messages, but I'm sure you get them too. We get the folks that message us, say thank you. Like, I didn't know that.
Unbelievable.
So it's like,
I have to read you one of the sweetest things that somebody, I mean, it's just unbelievable. Well, ultimately, what it was is, you speak for me, and you touched my heart, and I am a principal of a grade school. And it is, like, it wasn't like some schnook that was like, whatever, this is someone that's smart, deals with people, and was just really an amazing thing to get. Like I get them all the time, but when she admitted, you know, when she's a principal of a school,
Yeah.
that's like, you know, you're doing something right. So see, I think when you say things with humor, you can get away with more. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. But the problem is, you know what the problem though, Abe, is that people, we're living in this time where people say things and under the veil of humor, but they're saying it to try to influence in a in a negative way. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, in defense of my own style,
No,
I
no,
don't need anyone to think like me.
yeah,
You know what I mean? I just feel like,
I wasn't talking about you.
no, I know, but because, you know, I hear funny and then I think, okay, I'm guilty.
No, no, I mean, we wouldn't have a following if we weren't funny.
Our voices matter.
Yeah.
And that was part of Black Lives Matter. And like everything happened in the order it was supposed to happen. It was almost as though it was laid out like a strategic plan to get people to care about their neighbor again and to care about how they feel about something again and to care about not the aspiration to own a Hermes scarf and whatever. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's really time now to remember that, you know, love thy neighbor. And if they're a Republican, well, maybe you're excused from having to do that.
It's the the bad thing is, it's like there's not all cops are bad, not all Republicans are bad, just like not all Democrats are good. And
Definitely.
you know, I think what you said, it really brings it home for me. Even myself, I find myself, it's really hard to be nice to people who aren't, that aren't putting anything nice out. And I'm the type of person that I struggle to be quiet. Like I'm 6'4", 6'5". I'm a pretty big dude, and when I'm not smiling, I look scary. So it's like, so you know what I mean? It's like I'm just the dude. I'm the dude that's supposed to walk up to somebody and be like, "Why are you doing this?" And um, that's that's just how I feel in general about all of this, is that somebody needs to step up. Somebody needs to use their voice, and it needs to be somebody who can relate and check off a lot of boxes. And that's something that I personally do. When you're a disabled veteran, when, you've had back surgeries, you've had cancer, you've had your colon taken out, you've got biracial kids, you've got, like, there's just so many
Honey,
boxes that
you are
I
going to
check
raise
off.
a fortune.
you know, I mean, I'm trying to intake more and put out less. Like I kind of came to that realization the other day on my Twitter. Like I was trying to like retweet a bunch of stuff, and I'm like, you know what, just intake more, put out less, and let what you put out be more impactful.
Mm,
So that's kind of what I'm personally trying to work on right now. I want to have as many quality connections as I can.
yeah,
I want to have as many genuine quality interactions as I can.
right,
And that goes back to the whole intake more, put out less.
right.
So,
Awesome.
I'm a work in progress.
We all are, but it was really great talking to you.
Talk to you later, man. Thanks. You too, man.
Yeah.